Iowa State 23, Texas 20 in thrilling fashion to the gun in Austin. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our mission. That's our goal. Please comment down below your thoughts about the Big 12 race, this game in particular. Share the videos on social media, and of course, subscribe right here. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. We got Steve Helwick on the line. University of Texas graduate, has covered the Longhorns for quite some time. Also, you can join him on Hustle Belt, Underdog at Dynasty on SB Nation. Steve, otherwise, take this game out of the equation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Black Friday is always one of my favorite days to watch college football this year. We get the Civil War, Oregon State, the War of I-4, UCF South Florida going on right now. Iowa, Nebraska, just some fun rivalry games we get accustomed to every year. Then we get treated to Iowa State, Texas, and Notre Dame, North Carolina is about to start at the time of this taping. So I think it's a fun football weekend, fun weekend to be with family, and I couldn't be doing any better.
So it gave us a lot of drama down in Austin. Texas jumped out early, looked good. The first several drives of the game really had a huge advantage in regards to statistically in grabbing a 10-0 lead. Let's get to the last couple drives of the game. Iowa State had to score late. They got the ball with about 3 minutes left to play, took it right down the field. It was pretty much 5 shots and 69 yards and a touchdown there, with Breece Hall capping it off with a $1.25 left. Your thoughts about the last couple drives of the game?
Last couple drives of the game, Texas couldn't stop Charlie Kolar. Charlie Kolar was just dominating from that tight end position. And even Dylan Sainer, I think those were Iowa State's top 2 receivers today, which means they were just drawing mismatches from some linebackers and safeties and getting open. There were so many times Kolar would run post routes, corner routes, and he would just have a whole daylight of space ahead of him. And you have to give Iowa State a lot of credit for utilizing their tight ends in the best way possible and getting that win against Texas. Now, I thought Texas did a pretty good job on Breece Hall for the most part. He was under 5 yards a carry today, and it was the first time under 100 yards this season. But Hall at the end, he had some of those runs which helped keep that drive going and keep pushing the sticks forward. And then he has that touchdown run at the end to give Iowa State the first lead of the game. That was really the first time Texas's defense in the red zone broke that game. Before that possession, Iowa State had 4 trips inside the Texas 30. They had 2 missed field goal. They had 1 missed field goal, 3 made field goals. They got a sack, 15 penalty yards. Iowa State just kept imploding in there. The Cyclones finally get it done in the red zone. Texas's defense, I mean, they did a lot of good stuff in the red zone, but they just couldn't get that one at the end. And then Longhorns couldn't finish that last drive out.
To Steve's point, the tight ends produced between Dylan Stainer and Charlie Kolar, 200 yards receiving in this one. Kolar 6 for 131. Stainer had 69 yards receiving on 5 catches, and in that final drive, Breece Hall went for 24 yards on a sweep. Stainer had a big, huge 16-yard completion. Then Kolar down to the 7 before Breece Hall, a couple carries, took it in with a $1.25 left. A lot of interesting plays in the final drive as Texas got off to a bad start. There was a holding call that took them back to a 2nd and 20. Keep in mind, everybody, that they were going for the field goal. Of course, the tie, the touchdown would have been great, but with only a $1.25 left and backed up heavily. Jordan Whittingham had an inside screen that he took for a first down on a big 3rd and 11 play. I thought Rashawn Johnson had a tremendous play, Steve, when he caught an inside pass where he should have been tackled in bounds that really would have killed the clock. He was able to sidestep a bunch of guys, fight his way to the outside, and get out of bounds. That set up the Ellinger first down run that he gets out of contain. He gets a first down run. So they made quite a few tremendous plays there to get themselves in position.
They did. And I thought Texas moved very well. When you're facing a 2nd and 20, I mean, that's never an easy situation. Cut it down to 3rd and 11. And that Whittington screen worked really well. Yeah, Rashawn Johnson made that nice play on the sideline late in the game. And Texas was in field goal range. And it's really hard, I think, for Texas fans to see Sam Ellinger, who has given his heart and soul to this program. I can tell you, Texas would not be in the Big 12 championship conversation without him. That's how phenomenal he's been. And I thought he played a pretty good game today with his escapability. He led the team in rushing yards. It was his best performance we'd seen in weeks. Another week goes by without him throwing an interception, and it's been over a month, I think, since he's thrown his last one. So Ellinger's played very well recently and very well today, and it was very tough, I think, for Texas fans to see him take a sack on that last play. I'm not a physics major. I couldn't tell you if Cameron Dicker's field goal would have been good if that sack was never taken and it was a 52-yard field goal instead of 57 yards, but that thing was close. I thought from first punch that kick was going straight down the uprights. I saw him hit 57 last season in NRG Stadium, although that was indoor against Rice. I know he has that leg in him, and he definitely had the distance, but it just flew a little left of the upright. And now Texas is essentially out of the Big 12 championship conversation, and Iowa State is almost a shoo-in.
Yeah, Cameron Dicker forced to attempt his career long, or what would tie his career long at 57 yards. Latrell Bankston had the sack, one of the better defensive players in the Big 12 on Sam Ehlinger. I don't know do you know what the distance would have been prior to the sack?
I think it was a 4 or 5 yard sack. So I want to say it's going to be 52, maybe 53. It wasn't too long of a sack. I can look up.
And from the camera angle on, as you mentioned, right along with your thoughts on the kick, from the camera angle, you can't tell how close the ball is to the goalpost as it's approaching. So he hit it dead on, but it was fading, and you don't know how close it is. And I had to wait for the officials to make the determination because I didn't know it was that close to going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a tough ending for Texas. They've been on the right side of a few of these against Oklahoma State, against Texas Tech. And then they've been on a wrong side. All 3 losses, TCU, Oklahoma, Iowa State, all coming down to the final minutes. It's a team where you can put any game in a hat. They could have won it. They could have lost it. You can look at one play in each one and just turn it around. In this game, a play I'd like to look at is Texas had a 20-16 lead over Iowa State in the fourth quarter, in the second half of the fourth quarter. And Sam Ehlinger, they're in the red zone, and it's a 4th and 1. And Sam Ehlinger fakes his own read and just goes forward. That's a play that he gets 9 times out of 10. And I think it was Mike Rose, who might have been there for Iowa State, who just makes a really nice stop on the play. He's just a couple inches short. Now, that's a play I would defend Texas's decision to go for, because if you get that and you score a touchdown, you end the game at 27-16. You always like to be in that sort of command of the game. And 1 yard's not very hard for Sam Ehlinger to get. I thought it was a good play call by Texas, but a better stop by Iowa State. And once again, I always say that I'm a proponent of QB sneaks under center, and I think Texas should have maybe tried that instead. But I was fine with the play call. I just think Iowa State's defense, they really showed up at the end of the game.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned off the top, Texas came out strong. This is a series in which obviously Texas, as is the case with all the Big 12 series aside from Oklahoma, has dominated over the course of history, 14-3 coming in. So the Cyclones get a much needed win, a 99% certainty, according to the FBI, that they move on to the Big 12 championship game. Just a few other notes. Brennan Eagles with a huge catch on the opening drive, another huge downfield catch on a drive that led to a touchdown that put Texas ahead 20-10 in the third quarter, an 89-yard drive. Brennan Eagles, 5 catches for $142. Bijan Robinson may have possibly broken his short career record of carries in this one as they try to get him, the big 5-star, more into the flow with 16 carries for 54, Steve.
Yes, Robinson was working well earlier in the game. I thought Texas came out with the offensive fire I've been talking to you about that they need to start with. They had 2 drives straight down the field. Probably should have scored a touchdown on that first drive. They didn't run a QB power by the goal line, which is really what's been standard play call there in the Tom Herman era. Instead, they settle for a field goal, and then they get a touchdown and drive later to go up 10-0. So, but that's still a pretty good start for Texas, and they were being aggressive early. I haven't seen Texas take 4 deep shots in a first quarter since Herman's got there, I don't think. I know Yurchich is controlling the offense this year, and I really like those deep balls. They had one successful one to Brendan Eagles early. They drew a pass interference on the other one. So I thought Texas was really good in their play calling early in the game, and that was they were playing more aggressive. Later in the game, they were playing more not to lose, it felt like. I thought their play calling late in the fourth quarter, there was that drive when Iowa State punted on the 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter, and Texas still had the lead 20-16, and they just threw 2 incompletions on short passes instead of trying to run any clock out, and they were having some success with the run game. They didn't really have many negative plays in the run game, so I thought Texas's play calling decision making maybe took a hit on that drive, but it was really good early on. Brendan Eagles played absolutely excellent. So did DeMarvion Overshone from the outside linebacker position. He was playing like a safety in some of that pass coverage. He blew up a couple plays at the line of scrimmage. Those 2 guys, I would say, would be the MVPs of the game for Texas.
Iowa State 23, Texas 20, all but moves the Cyclones into the Big 12 championship game. They are now at 7-2, but only one of those losses inside the Big 12. They take on West Virginia in Ames on December 5th. And most likely, if Oklahoma controls its own destiny, of course, the Sooners canceled against West Virginia this weekend. It looks like OU and Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. Any thoughts in that direction?
Every year, it's Oklahoma versus a new team in the Big 12 title game. We had TCU in 2017, Texas in 2018. It was Baylor in 2019. It looks like it's going to be Iowa State in 2020. And most of those games, and Oklahoma's won all of them so far. So it's just Oklahoma versus a new challenger every single year. Iowa State won the first game in the series this year, having that comeback win back in either late September or early October. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup, but Oklahoma's really improved as the season's gone on. I thought that was a big window for Iowa State to have that 45-0 win over Kansas State and then build on that in Austin, a place that the Cyclones have not been able to win in the past, and have a comeback win too. It's not like Iowa State was playing ahead. They really had to come back from behind, playing down 2 scores in the second half when it was 20-10 at one point. So Iowa State showed a lot of poise late in that game, and I think Matt Campbell is a tremendous coach because this team was really in the same situation as Kansas in the Big 12 when he first got there, and he's turned Iowa State into a team that's beaten Oklahoma twice, a team that's consistently 7-8 wins, and this year it feels like they've gone through the ceiling, and now they're going to compete for a Big 12 championship probably, and you have to give a lot of credit to Matt Campbell for getting this program to the point where it is today.
Absolutely. And I thought it was a classy move to see Matt Campbell at midfield acknowledging Cameron Dicker's efforts, and almost a game-tying field goal to send it to overtime, and a good moment there. Iowa State wins 23-20 over Texas. Steve Helwick, please check out his coverage of college football at Underdog Dynasty, also at Hustle Belt on SB Nation. Steve, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your weekend.